My name is Diop Kamal, and this is an expert witness report regarding Laura Smith against a New York State trooper named Mr. Manor. And I'm going to go to Laura Smith's complaint form and start there. And essentially what Ms. Smith reported to us is that she had a migraine headache and she had a severe shoulder injury, and she corroborated those issues with documentation, medical records, and photographs. And basically, she went to the hospital because the shoulder injury was causing her pain, and she had a migraine at the same time, so she was hysterical. And she made a remark that she was really upset and that they euthanize people in Vermont. And it was not intended as a statement that she's going to kill herself, but just that she's in agony and what happened next is almost unbelievable. The police, this is after Miss Smith was at a hospital, did not like the treatment she was getting. She went to another hospital, got the treatment, was given medication, and sent home at about 12:30, sometime between 12:30 and 2 p.m. When she arrived home and went to sleep because of the medication, 4 hours later, she was awakened by a New York State trooper named Officer Manor, or Trooper Manor, who then, according to Miss Smith, handcuffed her, wrenched her arm behind her back on the same shoulder, which is severely injured, and I'll show some of the photographs, dragged her out of her house. She fell in the walkway. She was then placed unrestrained without a seatbelt in the front of the police cruiser, and in her words, recklessly driven to the hospital. And I didn't know if all of the things she told me could be proven, but a substantial amount of the facts that she pointed out to us were verified through independent records. But I want to place this audio recording of her statement to me about what happened into her record on our website, policeabuse.com. I completed an expert witness report on Miss Smith's case just a few days ago. These are a few of the photographs in her case file. She's got extensive injuries on multiple parts of her body from the encounter with the trooper, and it's just unbelievable that she would be transported. In my expert report, I reached the conclusion that the officer's conduct was inappropriate, that the force that he used was excessive, and that there didn't appear to be any need for him to have any contact with Miss Smith. She had already been treated at the hospital. Her injuries were diagnosed, or at least her medical condition was diagnosed. She didn't have injuries other than the ones that were pre-existing. And after the ride with the trooper, her injuries were severely exacerbated.
Okay, so it was, I think, around noon that I went to Vassar, and I wanted an MRI done of my right shoulder where the tendon had been bothering me since June. I got on the phone. They wouldn't do it, so I was very, very upset because I had waited over 3 weeks for the MRI script from my doctor to get to the insurance company. So she wasn't in. I was talking to her emergency secretary. I was yelling at her, screaming at her, very, very upset. Because the doctor had not called me back on Friday. And that's where I said the one thing that she picked up on, she had called the state police. Well, at that point, I had already upset the emergency room nurse, who I knew personally. So I said, forget it. I don't even want to go back in there. Suzanne was like, they're probably not going to let you back in. I said, fine. I've used that emergency department before for migraines. I said, they're not the best anyway. So probably she had called it in soon after we had hung up. I went to Kingston, which is a good about 30 minutes away. According to this report, Monday, August 31st, somewhere around 15:34, which I think is about 3:30, we had clocked into Kingston. I went there. I got all my medication. I was probably there more like 2:30. They gave me all the medication. It took a while. The migraine finally went away. I think they needed a bed because they, scooted me out a little faster than usual. when I stood up, I was extremely dizzy. I said I'm very, very dizzy. They didn't offer to get a wheelchair. Just Suzanne, pretty much by shoulder and arm, walked me out to the car. I don't remember the car drive home. I got home. I crawled into bed. And then all I remember is there was one police officer at the door. She said, there's a policeman at the door. I said, please don't let him in. I knew I was very tired and dizzy. She let him in anyway. The next thing I know, he's in my room, and I don't know. I just wasn't thinking straight. I thought I had to take my Cynthia injection. I walked him downstairs. I must have been babbling. Next thing I know, to my surprise, my arms are behind my back, and he's handcuffed me, and I'm begging him to take them off because my arm is behind my back, including the shoulders. That's not supposed to go behind my back. I'm begging him. I'm in the car. I don't know how I got 40 bruises in 15 minutes, but I was complaining the entire time. I was awake enough on the way down there that I realized his seatbelt wasn't on. I complained that he's breaking the law. He didn't answer me. He kept driving. He called the ambulance when we got to the post office parking lot. And I do remember him. I was face down across both seats. He's on top of me, and he's dragging me out. And then I got to the ambulance, and I fell asleep. I was not even with it enough. And Suzanne told at least the officer on the phone that I had just been released from the hospital with a migraine. And I told somebody later on what a migraine was. They had no idea what a migraine was. Mm-hmm. And that I was not capable of even hearing anything. That's why I sent you the medications that I had been on, because they were heavy duty. They were more than usual. So when I went back right before Christmas, I said, I cannot take X, Y, Z because last time I was so drugged out, I don't need to be that drugged out in order to get rid of a migraine. And I left walking out on my own with it, not that drugged out.
Okay, so basically you didn't need any help from them. They showed up, and you still don't know why. Do you know why they came? Who told them to come? Any of that?
I'm guessing that secretary based on that one ridiculous statement. And had they thought about the fact that the same exact hospital, a different section, let me go. They're attentive enough, they're smart enough to know that if I looked like I was going to harm myself, they would have just sent me through stretcher from the ER to the psych ward. Had they thought I was going to harm myself, they released me. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know the hospital released me on my own recognizance.
Did the officer ever explain why he was taking you into custody?
No, but he told Suzanne, which I didn't hear, that if I didn't cooperate, he was going to handcuff me. I never heard this. I didn't hear him say that. Just like I don't understand why every other time they never handcuffed me. There was always two police officers. They led me with the ambulance people coming to the door onto the stretcher and then brought me in with the ambulance.
Okay, and in terms of the officers contacting you, did they physically harm you deliberately, or was it accidental? Tell me what you think.
He was rough. He was strong and he was rough.
Okay, do me a favor. Describe your injuries.
Well, he put when my arms were behind my back, and you've seen things on TV. You've seen prisoners with their arms behind their back low, and the handcuffs not too tight. For whatever reason, he was angry, and I got probably the impression is he did not want to be there. He wanted to be doing some other assignment. So he had my arms up towards the middle of my back, which I was telling him I had an arm injury. He didn't believe me, I don't think. And I'm sure he had some kind of image of the mentally ill, which is not, we're not all one and the same. I had bipolar. I was fine. I was angry at I left that doctor. But it was up in the middle of my back, and the hand, that's why I have nerve injury. He made the handcuffs as tight as possible. They're trained. They know. He did it as tight as possible. So right there's aggression. There's unnecessary force. Then practically throwing me in the car and shutting it and not putting my seatbelt on shows that's the opposite of trying to protect somebody. No caring for somebody that is in that state. If I seriously was depressed, that would make me more depressed. I know depression. That would have just set me off right there.
Okay,
and then,
where did the officer? What time did the officer come to your home, and where did he take you after he took you into custody?
He came to the house around 6, and I would say by 6:15 he cuffed me in the kitchen, and he, kind of pulled me up the stairs and out the front door. And I can't remember if his car was in the driveway or out front, but I was expecting, I went to the back door, and that's when he pushed me in the front.